All right, you are our guest of honor today, so we do appreciate you coming onto the call to talk to the chamber, and we're just so pleased to have you here today. And I'm very excited to have this chat with you today. So I'd like to welcome you to the chamber Lunch and Learn. This is a special edition of the Lunch and Learn, and today we have Senator Gopal joining us today. And, Senator was initially elected in 2017. He was reelected in 2013 in what was considered a very competitive district. Senator Gopal has championed legislation for to provide aid for education and local businesses, property tax rebates, which is something that's important to all of us, seniors and veterans, which is something that's near and dear to me. In general, making life more affordable for seniors, access to mental health services, public safety, and really tear down barriers to employment and services for members of the disability community. The senator has also signed dozens of bills into law. I have personally gotten a chance to get to know Senator Gopal through my advocacy work, and he's been extremely helpful. And I think back to the days in the Northern Chamber of Commerce when I actually first got to know Senator Gopal way before he was a senator, when he was a businessman, and he continues to do business in the community. Not only is he a businessman, but he was born in Neptune, and I know he lives in Long Branch, so he is a member of this community. And we are just so pleased to have him join us today. And I'd like to thank Senator for joining us and welcome him to today's Lunch and Learn.
Thanks, Howie. Sorry to keep you guys waiting.
Yeah, no worries. So let's get right into it. Vin, and can we talk about, I want to actually start by reflecting back on last year, and there a lot of things happened last year that are important to help us move the community forward. What are a few of the standouts for you in terms of accomplishments and things that you felt were really important that got done in terms of legislature and what your office actually is doing on a regular basis?
Yeah, sure. I know a number of people on here, and for those who I don't, happy to work with you if there are issues important to you. Election years are always tough because you get less done in election years. That's the nice thing about a 4-year term. Don't have to worry about that for 4 years, but there's a lot as it related, especially to mental health and learning recovery coming out of COVID. We saw challenges during COVID where we had, like, for example, in Red Bank, about 50% of the school district did not have Wi-Fi access, so they couldn't even do virtual learning when things were shut down. We saw big mental health gaps after that. Some of you may have seen horrific, teen suicide, 13-year-old in Brielle over the weekend. We're seeing a lot of especially among unfortunately, young teenage girls. The statistics are through the roof on depression, anxiety. So that's been a big focus, getting resources, getting funding into school districts. One thing I was really proud of that we passed at the very end of last year was a battle where we fought insurance companies with a pay parity bill, which basically means that if you were getting your therapy, or mental health, or even doctor's visits where a physician doesn't need to touch or see you. For example, my daughter has a specialized dermatologist for skin rash, so we were able to do that virtually instead of traveling all the way up. We forced the insurance companies like HorizonNet and then Cigna to cover it. They had been trying to let this expire, and they had been successful in lobbying Governor Murphy to make this a pilot, which we wanted to make it permanent. So that was going to expire at the end of December. And if that had expired, literally tens of thousands of New Jerseyans would not get covered if they had a therapy session virtually by their insurance company. And some press picked up on it, but it really didn't. I don't think people realized how much of an effect it would have had. So we worked in a bipartisan way to get that done, finally, to get the insurance companies. They were obviously very concerned about it. They thought there would be fraud, but I think they just didn't want to cover folks on that. And so that is that is law now for, unfortunately, we were not pilot. It's for another 2 years, so we're gonna have to fight again in 2 years. But there is a big positive impact on allowing people to do their therapy sessions or mental health counseling virtually because they don't need to be in person for that. Um, we did a number of things as it relates to liquor license reform, specifically to ease the restrictions on breweries in New Jersey. My legislative district actually has probably more breweries and distilleries than anywhere in the district. We like to drink, I guess, but they're good small businesses. Source and Cold Stack, Asbury Distillery. I mean, they're all throughout Monmouth County, Carton and Middletown. And there used to be insane restrictions on them as far as tours, and they couldn't sell pretzels, and they couldn't contract with a food vendor, which doesn't even make any sense because if somebody's drinking, food helps to sober them. So we were able to to do away with those restrictions. So that's done now, as well as about 1,200 pocket licenses in the state. We had some scenarios where license holders were holding multiple licenses in a town to prevent competition from coming in. So now they're being forced to sell, which puts more licenses out there. Also allowed a very unique. Will have an impact in Monmouth County farm brewery license. We've got a number of farms that are going to try to create opportunities similar to farm wineries. If you've been over to 4G and Homedale or any of these other places, we're going to have some farm breweries that are going to be opening up here in Monmouth County very soon. And then also allowing towns to transfer liquor licenses from town to town. So those were some of the big things towards the end of last year. We did a lot on mental health funding across all 600 school districts. We started consolidating. A problem we saw is that throughout the 600 districts, everyone was kind of doing something a little different. So I see Tara on here from Preferred Behavioral, and they're taking the lead on the 4S system that's going to kind of take all these mental health programs in Monmouth County and kind of put them together and make sure the districts are talking to each other, make sure the services are parallel district to district. So that's going to be pretty important as we move forward. Those are some of the topics that have kind of hit late in December that we worked on, and
And
we had a couple probably more a lot more funding this year that came in for small business grants. We did a lot of EDA grants this year. Helped a number of folks out, especially across the boardwalk. We're about to put out the boardwalk grants. It's going to repair all the boardwalks in Monmouth County. So we're hoping that's going to have a big impact. We're looking specifically in Asbury Park, where Convention Hall has been kind of in disrepair for a while. That affects the economy. We also closed in finally signing an agreement with Netflix, where not only are they going to come in, this is going to be their their Northeast headquarters, but the agreement with them is that they have to use all local vendors. They can't even call 1-800-Flowers. They got to use our local florists. They got to use our local restaurants. They got to use our local caterers, all of our local construction. And before we gave them a very generous tax credit, that was part of the deal. And they've been, they're about 3-4 years, probably 4 years until shovels in the ground. But as they go through the process, we're going to be working very closely with all the chambers to make sure that their members have first opportunities to be bidding on all the work. And that's something we're going to be staying on them. With that was the most generous tax credits in the country as it relates to film and TV. So I think you will see a lot of towns over the next couple of years, businesses where people will be coming to produce movies, documentaries here. Most of the Springsteen documentaries have not even been filmed in New Jersey. There have been plenty of movies. We met about a year ago, which motivated us with the crew at the folks who did the Departed movie done years ago that was based in Boston, and they wanted to film in New Jersey, but new tax credits, so they went to New York to film the whole thing. And it's a multi-million-dollar economic impact we would have had here just with them renting out our restaurants or downtowns if we brought them into New Jersey. So those are some of the topics that we really worked on at the end of November and December, and then as usual, we tried to help with thousands of different constituent cases that came in.
that's incredible. And I know you focused on the mental health accomplishments, but you also were in the state health Committee. Could you just expand a little bit about what that committee does and some of the things, some of the work that took place last year in the Health Committee, being that this is the Health and Wellness Committee for the Chamber?
Sure. So a lot had to do with legislation relating not just to mental health, but making sure there was, I talked about the pay parity as it relates to telemedicine, but also reimbursement rates across the board, them, whether it's nursing homes, adult daycares, trying to get them into a better place. We did a lot of different legislation on trying to just make healthcare more affordable and more accessible. One area that I would like to try to get a little bit more in on this session is on small business policies. Like I can tell you for myself, I have it's like $500 a month small business policy. It covers absolutely nothing, but it's like it is what it is. State legislators do not get health care or pension, by the way, so we take private plans. So this is and I'm in a business with not a lot of people. So obviously, if you're more than 30, 40 employees, you probably can get better plans. But it does seem like small business healthcare plans right now are not that great, and premiums keep going up, and coverage is less and less for what they're looking for. But we did a lot as it relates to safety of nursing homes. We had a lot of nursing home problems after COVID, to make sure reporting more access, to make sure that their quarantining was done properly if somebody had COVID or flu and was older, making sure patients were being treated the right way. There's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking from the state on that. So that was some of the big focuses last year on that.
Appreciate you taking a look backwards. As we look at 2024 and going forward, what are some of the top things that you're looking to do this year and beyond for the community?
Mental health is going to continue to try to streamline those processes. It's tough when I chair the education committee, so that's a big priority of mine. So when we go district to district, and they have different services there, is problematic. Like the Source in Red Bank is a school-based youth program that is outstanding, probably has an incredible reputation. And that's something we got to try to figure out how to mirror in other communities. Special education is kind of a big issue that's coming up also with New Jersey's home rule and 600 individual school districts. Special education programs unfortunately end up being different town by town. So I'll get parents saying they're moving to a specific district because their special ed program is so good. That's not helpful. There should be parity across all of our districts, parity of services. We've had a massive rate of inflation on transportation, on a lot of other services that affect school districts. New Jersey is tough with the 600 school districts. It's everybody loves the idea of consolidation. Just don't do it in my backyard, is what they say. It's like everybody hates Congress, but they always vote for their congressperson. Same thing here. Nobody wants to consolidate their school or their police department or their whatever, do somebody else's. And that makes it hard when you have 600 school districts, 565 towns, a couple hundred housing authorities, parking authorities, sewer authorities. You're talking about tens of thousands of layers of government in New Jersey, which makes it why it's so expensive. And those are from everything from lawyers to engineers to everybody having their own board staff, and it's a very expensive way to operate. But that has been it's a challenge. Nobody wants to consolidate. A couple of years ago, they tried to consolidate the Lake Como and Belmar police departments, and they were successful in it. But people were acting like they're stealing their firstborn, and the senior level cops were going to get let go, and the new police departments didn't want to take them because the salaries were higher. It was a very messy situation. So we're going to continue to try to look at that and try to see how to make New Jersey more affordable. I mean, we have programs like Anchor. We have the state NJ program that's launching next year. We've got a few programs, but I think obviously the number one issue that still affects New Jersey residents is affordability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the tax relief is definitely critical given, that is tough for us residents, especially on the real estate taxes. Um, what do you see as some of the bigger community challenges that we face, in your district when you look at it with a critical eye? What are some of the things that we need to work on together?
I think civility is still the number one issue facing community, society as a whole. I was proud of our election, even though I'm a Democrat. I took about almost 35% of the Republican vote, which was the highest anywhere in the Northeast for cross party. We had a broad coalition of folks. We had many of the Republican mayors and council people openly supporting me in my election. And I've really focused hard on bringing people together. Even though if we're not going to agree on X, Y, and Z, we have to be civil. We have to get elections to start talking about issues. If you notice, nobody's been talking about transgender kids or whales dying since election day. It just all of a sudden stopped because they were kind of manufactured issues. So um, those are the problems. There was no conversation about taxes or how we make things more affordable or should we do regionalization. And I think we have to get back to those public policy conversations on both sides. There's some really, I get Democrats who just want to talk about abortion, some extreme issues all the time, and Republicans who want to talk about certain issues, and it makes it hard at the local level to try to bring a community together to try to make some progress happen. That is the hardest thing. I run a program at Monmouth University, which we're happy to invite everyone to. We're going to be doing something in April. It's called the School of Civil Discourse. I do it with former Senator Joe Carrillos, who used to be Republican state chair, and we run something called the School on Civil Discourse, where we bring people from both parties together who have really strong differing opinions and show how they can work together, how they can be respectful, how they can talk about actual issues, not saying that teachers are teaching inappropriate things in schools and not have any evidence of it. We kind of not mandate, but strongly encourage the university that all their liberal arts students attend this seminar so they can see people on both sides working together. So I think that, um, look, if I was not a senator, I would on social media. Like social media is not good in any way. I know we have to kind of as business people, you want to get the word out. There's some positives out there, but it's overwhelmingly negative. It's a huge negative impact on people's mental health, kids' mental health. It portrays pictures of things that are not reality. I think it's one of the most dangerous things that's out there right now. And that is one thing that we're going to be looking at this year, especially with AI and a few other things coming out, is how we can make sure that Google and these social media companies, Facebook and X, are heavily regulated. Because that is probably the biggest public policy concern I think that's going to be coming up.
Yeah, and as a father of two daughters, I have to agree with you in terms of social media. I know that that has impacted my kids personally, and mental health is definitely a challenge, even for myself as I reflected back through COVID. Those were definitely challenging times, and I love the idea of a civil discourse. Beyond that, how would you talk to the chamber members that are here today in terms of how can we engage with you to solve some of these problems? What are the other opportunities perhaps that we have to engage with your office to work together to solve some of
Yeah.
these challenges that we
Look,
faced?
I see a friend here, a very good friend who doing legislation in after his late daughter Stephanie is one of my big priorities this year. Ed Pars has met with my office a number of times last year on some really meaningful legislation that we are absolutely going to get done this year as it relates to domestic violence and try to make sure that what happened to his family never happens to another family here in New Jersey. So just like he's reached out, just like you've reached out on bills that have affected your industry, I see a number of people on here just with a quick scroll that have reached out at one time or another on different, whether legislation or just wanting to talk about different constituent issues. Mike will drop his, I think Mike's on here. I'm not even sure, but somebody on my staff will drop their email and contact info. We're happy to chat with you. We're happy to talk. Yeah, even if you don't live in my district. So I only have 19 towns out of the 53 in Monmouth County. The rest of it is Senator O'Scanlan has the Bay Shore, and Senator Singer has the southern end of the county. We all work really, really closely together. Senator Scanlon and I talk probably about it every single day. We treat all of our towns as one county. We don't really care where you live in the county. We all work very closely. Like I don't, Howie, I'm pretty sure you don't live in my district, right? Where do you live?
No, I don't. I live in Farmingdale. My business is in
Farmingdale.
Freehold, though.
Yeah, you don't live in district, but we still obviously
Yes.
work very closely together because we care about everybody in the county. Now, if you by chance live in Ocean County or Middlesex, we'll probably send you to your senator just based on time.
Awesome. And in terms of like benefits that are out there or resources, I often find that those things are not obvious to the community. Are there some programs that you want to kind of maybe perhaps highlight that maybe
Yeah.
aren't being fully taken advantage of?
Yeah, so one thing we're going to do this year, which I don't know where I came up with it, someone gave me the idea, and they're going to be mad at me that I didn't credit them because I generally can't remember who it was, but I was talking to someone who's good. But one thing we're going to do probably in May or June, we're going to mail to every business owner, but we want to do like a Senate and Assembly people. I have two new Assembly partners, Margie Donlin, by the way, who's a physician, and Luann Peter Paul used to be the judge in Long Branch, and they're both in our office now as the Assembly people. But we're going to do a small business either seminar or forum later this year. Treat it as a business card exchange, free for all business owners, but then actually bring the partners, whether it's the Economic Development Authority, the Small Business Authority, and really ask each of these folks, like on a panel, to go through the different programs, the grant opportunities, what people can apply for, what nonprofit grants are available. Because you are right, a lot of this is just making sure we get the word out there. Unfortunately, the folks that we battle with, if Mike is on here, I see this. Our office spends most of our time battling with state government, which sounds insane because I'm a state legislator, but that is what we do. State government is so incredibly inefficient. I've never seen something that does like it's mind-boggling how like basic things don't happen. I don't put it on. I don't know. Maybe it's on Murphy, but what could have been before him? I don't know. I've only been here for a few years, but it's terrible. No matter what department, dealing with Department of Labor during COVID with people's unemployment was horrendous. Dealing with motor vehicle was horrendous. That is what we spend a lot of time is just trying to help residents navigate navigate challenges that they're having and pointing them in the right direction or fighting with the insurance company for them. We try to be a catch for all for whatever they need. In that same vein, there are, as you mentioned, a lot of programs the state government has that they just do not tell people about. And they don't do a good enough job explaining the different grants. And there's a lot of grants out there. There's one grant out recently for amusement parks in the state, indoor amusement parks that just did not, a lot of them didn't apply. A lot of folks didn't apply for that, like mini golf centers and places like so. There's a lot of different things that I think myself included, need to do a better job of just getting it out there.
Yeah, and we want to be able to help by amplifying that message, right? And bringing people together so that we can have these kinds of dialogues. And, my personal experience, I never could have imagined the engagement that I've had with my local legislators and the impact that that actually could potentially have, not only in Trenton and in our district, but beyond that, even on a federal level with some things like the Elizabeth Dole Act. Like if people get involved, things actually can happen here. And I think, as a credit to you, Vin, is that you are willing to engage. So, what can we do more to encourage people to actually engage in this process? Because I think people feel one step removed. They see it on the news. They don't necessarily know how to engage or that they have the ability to actually impact the laws and the legislation that
Yeah.
actually gets done.
We're happy to help anyone with a quick 10-minute navigation, but the quickest thing you could do, like I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say, "Oh, how often do you go to Washington, D.C.?" And I say, "I haven't been there in years. I went for a tour. I go to Trenton. It's not that great." People assume I'm a federal senator because they just hear senator. So just a basic um, overview of all layers of government. Know when to reach out to your school board. The Board of Education has an incredible impact on who the superintendent's going to direction of the school is. Know who your mayor and council are going to be. Their meetings are twice a month. You can usually go virtually. If you live in the town, you have a business, you should make sure you know the mayor's name. It will help you, or it's going to help one of your customers at some point in life because it's easy to make that phone call. Know who your county commissioners are. They do a good job. Tom Arnone has a lot of grants. He's got a good grant program with the awnings. and they have made in Monmouth, and they do a good job and know who your county commissioners are. Used to be county freeholders. Know your state legislators, whether it's us or someone else, and obviously whoever your congressperson is. I think and you should just reach out to them and say, listen, I would like to have a call with you or someone in your office to introduce myself, tell you what I do in town or whatever, especially with your mayor and council. Um, and I can't tell you how many towns I've had to fight here. Like during COVID, we fought. I won't mention, you folks can guess, because there's only three or four of them, but we had to battle with the town because they wanted to charge for one of their like their boardwalks where they were, sorry, my mind is this wasn't the town because they did a job. If you go to Red Bank, they had Riverwalk where all the restaurants and the food, they still do that. One of the towns wanted to charge like $500 every weekend for a restaurant to put their outside seating out, which is insane. It wasn't even their space. So like when that stuff happens, it's helpful to have people that know the mayor, know the council, and start advocating against that. Because we've battled towns. We stopped a town early on who wanted to put a sign on it. They were going to charge $200 every time any for a barber shop wanted to put their sign outside in their downtown Western Boston. So like these are just like nickel and dime tactics. And a lot of times the business owner doesn't live in town, so the mayor and council knows they can't vote against them. But if they know who they are personally and they start building that relationship, it becomes much easier. That's why small businesses are so important. And usually these towns that have mostly corporations in there that have no local ties usually are the ones that end up hurting everybody.
Yeah, and we actually did have Tom Arnaud this morning at our chamber cast, and he was going over some of the programs that, he's been responsible for. And it's really just, I am learning how much connectivity, how much outreach there is with our local
Yeah.
legislators and community. And
Tom
that's
and
an,
I probably talk every single morning. As
yeah.
soon as we're either of us are driving, we are on the phone to figure out whatever is going on for the day. So we try, at least in Monmouth County, and obviously Tom and I are different political parties, everyone tries to work together, and that's what's important.
As a business owner yourself and an entrepreneur, what guidance would you like to share with the small business owners in the chamber, especially those who are solopreneurs or new or startups?
Yeah, it's hard. Look, I've had a lot of businesses that have failed. I have owned, when I graduated college, I could not find a job. So I took a 3-week embroidery class and learned and screen printed embroidered clothes, had a retail store in Airport Plaza in Hazlitt, and a couple others. I've been involved in a lot of different things. Some work, some don't. Uh, I think just staying with it. 9 out of 10 small businesses in the country still fail. So it's in a hard area. I look at Howie. I visited his business in Freehold and saw how smart he was with how he managed. I was amazed when I went into his place. I don't remember what it was, like 3, 4 years ago, but it was like a shared office space. You were consolidating your costs. Your like room was like you didn't have like this huge fancy conference like you'd had it. You're very methodical on how you were spending money. And I think that's just lean on others that have been in the chamber and just try to make the best decisions possible. Is if I could give any advice, I think that would be it. Every business obviously is different.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice, and leverage the programs, right? And use the chamber, right? I mean, those are programs and things that are easy to engage in. Tough I think tough for residents is property tax, right? And where we stand on that relative to our neighbors, outside of the state. Um, what's going on in terms of some relief for property taxes? Is there
Yeah.
anything that's in the queue?
There's a few programs, but most of them, if not all of them, not most, a lot of them are focused on seniors. Like the focus is on seniors right now. Again, I go back to having 565 towns, 600 school districts. A lot of people leave the state of New Jersey, but they tend to do it when their kids leave or graduated because the school districts in southern states are vastly different than here in New Jersey. Inflation has really killed us over the last few years. Property taxes. Um, the Anchor program, if anyone wants to reach out to Mike at our office, that is a tax program. There's also for seniors, we have the Senior Freeze program. We also have the Stay NJ program that's starting. There's a couple other, we have we've really expanded the veterans tax credit if you or your spouse is a veteran in the state. So there's a couple different things we're doing. There's a lot more we need to do. It's hard. Look, when you have I use a small town. I don't know. I was just in Fairhaven this morning at the library. So Fairhaven's a town, great town, but you have probably 25, 30 police officers. You have right now they're making a demand to try to hire more because car thefts and home invasions are not going great right now. So they want more police officers. That's a couple 100,000 each officer, car, et cetera. Those are automatic raises every year. Those are it's this is not none of this is like anyone who's coming and saying we're just going to lower taxes dramatically is lying to you. Like that's just not realistic, especially at the local level where people want more services. Like they were mad where I live in Long Branch. We're mad because garbage went down from twice to once. Now it's back to twice a week. All of these things are tough, and to pay people a decent most municipal employees are making starting $50,000, $60,000. I mean, it's still it's not easy. There's no easy formula to say just cut. There are a number of nonprofits on here that have gotten state grants. If we cut on this call, but outside in Monmouth County, if we cut that program, that would affect nonprofits. Like so, there's no one solution to just say cut because you can't. And if you cut a police department or a school district, who are you cutting? Are you cutting the lieutenants, the captains, or the patrolmen? I mean, if I would encourage everyone on here to go and look at your budget, look at your municipal budget and see what you would suggest cutting. So it's easy to say politicians, you got to cut taxes, but show them what you want to cut. Look at the actual thing. And there are things you can cut, especially in school districts. Like I've seen school districts spend a lot of money on big turf fields and other things that may not be necessary, but some of the parents there want it. I think that is the challenge I would make. People have a negative connotation on politicians, well deserved. I mean, we have a U.S. senator who just took gold bars, so clearly that negative connotation is appropriate right now. But I would encourage you to look at and actually make suggestions on things that you think they should cut because it's a lot than just saying it.
All right. Well, Mike's telling me that we're on time here. I know you got to get to another meeting. So, Senator Gopal, I really wanted to thank you for your time today. Really appreciate the insights that you shared with us. And we hope we can chat with you again real soon.
Thank you guys so much. Good to see everyone.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Mike,
Take
and
care.
thank you, Senator Gopal.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, I hope everyone found that to be insightful and useful. I mean, I got a lot out of that session. I think we covered some of the topics. I didn't get to all of the questions that I wanted to ask the senator today, but I think we got a little bit of a window into all the things that the senator does for us. He is a great partner. He has been a great partner to me, and I think he's been a great partner to the chamber as a whole. I know he's made time for us many, many times, even in my short tenure with the chamber. So I'm very appreciative of the senator coming here today, visiting with us. So let's move on to the next phase of today's meeting, and everyone's going to get a chance. I would ask everyone to please limit their commercial to 30 seconds because